what's up everyone? Scott Todnum here from the Health Classroom. I've been doing some things lately at the 8th grade level in particular that I wanted to share. I'm always looking for resources, things to use, even abstract concepts to relate to our skill standards and our content. And lately, in the last few years in particular, I've been using children's books, picture books, to read out loud to the students, almost one every week, but definitely one every 2 weeks that connect to our topic. So what I thought I'd do is cover a couple of these children's picture books throughout this school year to share with any other educators out there that might benefit. I'm sure that some of you do the same type of thing, and I'd be all ears and listening to what it is that you do and how you use something like a little kid's book with older students. I find that no matter what age, picture books are enjoyable or can be enjoyable. Now some of the teenagers might play it off and maybe they're too cool for it, and that's fine. It's not necessarily for everyone. And that's why we try different things, videos, article reviews, you name it, to try and reach our teenage audience. For those of you working with high schoolers, I think this might work. And obviously anybody at the elementary level could use this as well. Oftentimes these picture books put things in such basic terms that there's no reason to recreate. So no matter what age, and I'm working with 13 and 14-year-olds, literally reading a story out loud to them in class, I think it's relatable. I have 4 children of my own, and so they are growing up listening to stories at bedtime, and this is one of those titles that I've read with my own kids, and I tell my students that here at the middle school as well. I try and say, hey, recently this is a book that we've read with my own kids in my own home. I'll share that sometimes the things that happen outside of the classroom make me think of a teachable moment, and so I'll bring that right in to the room here and explain that to the 8th graders. Besides having a hard copy of the book in the classroom, what I like to do is see if I can find the images online and then project them on the screen here in front of everyone so that no matter where a student is sitting in the classroom, they're able to see some of the pictures and enjoy. Because of copyright issues, I won't be reading the entire book here on the internet, on YouTube and on social media. That can get me in a little bit of trouble, but I will spotlight some of the follow-up questions or some of the things that I was thinking in relating a kid's book to my middle school students in the room. This week's book was Be Kind. It's by Pat Zietlow Miller, illustrated by Jen Hill. Maybe from the title alone, you can tell that this is useful for a social health content unit. I like it in particular to lead from National Skill Standard number 2, analyzing influences, into Skill Standard number 4, interpersonal communication. I think it might also work in other realms like Skill Standard number 5, decision making. But anyway, for me, I like this moving from analyzing influences into what do we do about it? Interpersonal communication. Prior to the reading of this, at the 8th grade level, we've analyzed some of the influences on our nation and on our world. Some things like stereotypes, prejudice, discrimination, social intolerance. We also cover some social intelligence, equality, equity, inclusion, what those terms mean and how they're different from one another. We'll use various media as we analyze influences, music videos, some movie clips, just to help out and help the students see some things that are in action between people that are interacting socially. Be Kind is narrated in first person by an unnamed character, but it's also mostly about the interaction with another girl at school. Her name is Tanisha, and the book starts off with a pretty simple statement. Tanisha spilled grape juice yesterday, all over her new dress. Everyone laughed. I almost did too, but Mom always tells me to be kind, so I tried. So you can see right off the bat that this is going to get into how do we relate, how do we connect with other people, what happens if there's a conflict, what happens if people are seemingly being made fun of, or if it's not being made fun of socially, what if there's just a mistake or something that happens throughout the school day or even outside of school, how can we as community members help out? The narrator character in the story has some great questions after seeing Tanisha and watching her feel sad and kind of run out of the room. And so the narrator asks, during art class, what should I have done? I thought about Tanisha. Should I have handed her my napkin? Let her borrow my sweatshirt? Spilled my juice so everyone stared at me instead? What does it mean to be kind anyway? The story continues and explains that being kind can be hard, even when we know what to do. Teaching someone something I'm good at is tricky, even when I'm patient. And sticking up for someone when other kids aren't kind is really hard and really scary. It keeps going almost like we're in the internal monologue of the character, asking questions and just kind of thinking things through, talking about doing small things that might help, like small things that might join small things other people do, and together they could grow into something big. So just some concepts that are great for any school-aged child. Be Kind finishes by talking about kindnesses that might spill out of our school and travel around our town and even go across the world. I'll leave it to you to see what happens by the end with Tanisha and the main narrator character, so I won't spoil it for you, but some simple lessons that we can take away from a children's book. I will add that oftentimes the story itself, it stands alone without any follow-up. No need to journal necessarily, no need to answer questions out loud. You could easily turn and talk and ask and give some prompts asking questions about what this might mean for the teenager's life. But again, you don't necessarily have to. Sometimes some of those things just sit in the brain alone, and allowing that to process and just allowing time for an 8th grader to take in something as simple as this story, that's worthwhile just in itself. If we are going to journal, or if you would like to journal and respond to some question prompts afterwards, what I would ask the students is something like, what instance or what do you know from your past has been a scenario where you could have been kind but weren't? Or maybe better than that, if that's too much on the negative side of things, what's an instance where you did something that was random and kind? It could link to random acts of kindness, but I also like the term purposeful acts of kindness. Other writing prompts might be something like, what do you notice in this school that could improve? Is there anything with kindnesses that might make your school experience a better one? What influences our ability to be kind to each other, especially as we age in adolescence? Does something happen with kindness from elementary school to middle school? What do you notice, not just as a school, but what do you notice as an entire society? Are there stereotypes that might be involved with teenagers? Something like that is a pretty simple writing prompt to link in National Skills Standard number 2, analyzing the influences on social health. And finally, if I want to link in a writing prompt for National Skills Standard number 4, communication, interpersonal communication, I could ask something simple like, what wording and what communication style or technique, what might help as we interact with others, not just our age, but also younger and older. What simple phrases could we say to another person to make them comfortable in whatever scenario we're in? What has someone else communicated to you that made you feel really safe, that made you feel connected and a part of things? You could even dive in deeper into communications, stuff like, how is it through text or online messaging? How is that different of a communication style than being in person? Is it easier to be kind through a message service or social media, or is it easier to be kind right here face to face? You might even find success asking students what you missed as the teacher. What other connections could we have made to this story that I didn't point out? Is there anything that we have missed, or can you make an additional higher level connection to something like this picture book, to our real life? So there it is. Be Kind, the title by Pat Zietlow Miller, illustrated by Jen Hill, and my use in the 8th grade health classroom. Try it out in your own teaching. Let me know how it goes. I would love to hear other ideas and even other books that you use in the health classroom or any other content area. If you're looking for more content or more lesson ideas, be sure to check out lifeisthefuture.com and subscribe and follow along with what we're doing on our class podcast. We're on any podcast platform as Life is the Future. Stay tuned for some more student reflections here and other items that I might share throughout this school year. As always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everything you do. And I'll leave you with this notion: be kind. Take care.